friends. Need to adjust this camera. Oh, this is fine. Good morning. Kitty resubscribing for the 40th month. Yeah. No, little Kitty, don't go in the tube. It's dangerous in there. I mean, we could follow little Kitty around at some point. Keep an eye on them. Make sure they're staying out of trouble, I suppose. No, that's fine. But good morning. Welcome to the Totally Awake Club, where we are totally awake. And ready to handcraft some things. So we're gonna start with sewing, as we usually do. But at some point, if I wake up properly, maybe I'll pivot to more Pokemon Infinite Fusions. I don't know. We'll see how we feel. You are awake? Negative. Yeah, that about covers it. But hi, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're totally awake here with us. He helps. So we did have 7 Hexagons. I don't remember if I shuffled them at all, so I will shuffle them again. But yeah, so for anyone that missed it, I did actually go live on Friday playing some Pokemon Infinite Fusions, and it was a ton of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. So maybe we do more of that for, like, I don't know, second half of stream or something. People would be into that. There we go. That works. Go. And so I guess I should back up even further. For anyone that doesn't know, Pokemon Infinite Fusions, there it is a Pokemon fan game based around the Kanto games. So based on sort of the traditional Pokemon journey that we're all super familiar with. Except you can play through the game totally normally with a team of 6 Pokemon if you want to. Or there's a new mechanic called fusing, where you can fuse 2 Pokemon together. So, like, you could take your starter Charmander and this Pikachu that you caught and fuse them together into a Pikamander or a Charachu. You can do it either way and it'll be different. Because there's a whole thing about certain stats will be taken from the head Pokemon and certain stats will be taken from the body Pokemon. So if you reverse the same fusion, it actually does change, like, the stats and stuff. It'll change the typing. If either of the Pokemon are dual types. And when the game first launched, it was with mostly generated sprites. Like, the game popped up from a website that was just kind of a fun, like, hey, fuse these 2 Pokemon together, see what a weird sprite it makes. And they were all, like, generated. Not like generative AI, but, like, I believe algorithmically generated. Like, it had a system for it would take, like, parts from this and colors from this and, like, generate a fusion sprite. So somebody saw that widget and was like, that looks fun. I could make a game out of that. And so they did. And then, because Pokemon fans are crazy, artists from everywhere were like, I could do a better sprite than that. I could do a better sprite for Pikamander. And so pixel artists started just making custom sprites and submitting them to be actually added to the game. So I think it's at somewhere around 50 to 60% of fusions now have custom sprites. So it isn't everything yet. They are working on it, but a lot of fusions will have like really cool looking sprites that were actually, designed and made by a person, that look amazing. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to play. I've very much been enjoying it. Um, when I have played on my own, I have found that I personally tend to get a certain amount of decision paralysis. Uh, once I have a dozen or so Pokemon, I start going, oh god, I want to fuse this, but what if I fuse this instead? Oh, but this could make a cool fusion. And I just kind of sit in decision paralysis because I want to fuse everything with everything just to see what it does. So the way that I'm playing this challenge run is I'm calling it a sequential challenge, where I am fusing the Pokemon together in the order that I get them. So my starter was fused with the first wild Pokemon I found. The second wild Pokemon I found was fused with the third, etc., etc. And it's actually been a lot of fun. It has been producing some very interesting fusions that I wouldn't necessarily have chosen on my own, which is the point. I think that's very cool. But yeah, it's fun. I've been enjoying it. And if you're interested in seeing that, the VOD for Friday's stream should be down below. And I'll probably be doing more of it, if not today, possibly tomorrow. So yeah, if that sounds fun, tune in. But I may just pivot to that later today, if people are amenable. Currently 148,430 out of 319,814 Pokemon in the game have a custom sprite, so about 46%. Yeah, so about half. And I should mention, obviously, not every single Pokemon is in the game, but a surprising amount of them are. So it's all of Gen 1 and Gen 2 are available. And then selected Pokemon from Gens 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, I believe. Nothing from Gen 8 and nothing from Gen 9. But like the starters for up to Generation 7 are available, and like, select other Pokemon that are either fan favorites or were favorites of the creator. Because obviously, if you add one more Pokemon, you have to do a ton of work, because then you have to add all of the fusions for all of the other Pokemon that are already available in the game. So it is a lot of work to add more Pokemon. For a while, they were doing updates and like patches where they were like, we've added another, 15 Pokemon, or we've added another 20 Pokemon, plus, fixes and extra quests and stuff like that. I believe now they are mostly pivoting to Pokemon Infinite Fusions 2, which will have all of the existing fusions plus a ton more. Like, they've just gotten to the point where they're like, okay, let's just fully jump to a sequel. And they have announced that the sequel will be based in the Hoenn games, so Sapphire, Ruby, and Emerald, instead of Kanto and Johto, where the first one was. So yeah, no release date for it, but we know they're working on it. It's gonna be a hell of a good time. And not gonna lie, there is a little part of me that is tempted to like try to brush up on my spriting skills. But I am not a good spriter, so. And I don't really have the time, unfortunately. Would be fun. Work on and submit some sprites, but I like designing fusions. I actually did that myself for a while, just like as an art exercise. But my pixel skills are not great. Which, obviously, the way to fix that is to practice, but I do not have the time. to do the practice, mostly. Hey, Barris, morning. You are awake. You're awake at a human hour. How strange. Keep meaning to look into Pokemon ROM design and build something in the Gen 1 to 3 top-down style, but with the open world concepts of the later games. I believe there is a kit that is available called Pokemon Essentials. I don't know if that is for ROM design or if that is for like ground up game design in a Pokemon style. But I know it is out there. Kitsune is also resubscribed for the 40th month. Merp as well, Kits. Hello, good morning, welcome, and thank you. I was just saying that perhaps a bit later in the stream we pivot to more Pokemon Infinite Fusions. If people are into that once I wake up. Because I was having a ton of fun with that. Depending, of course, whether or not Sasha decides to grace us with her presence. A good merp to all. Yes, exactly. I mean, honestly, that could be like one of our catchphrases. Good merp all. But yeah, I'm not particularly awake yet, and I did want to get some sewing done, so we'll start with this, but you know, maybe at break time we pivot. Pivot like it's pack 3. Oh god. No, that would be pivoting with like 1 hour left in the stream, and I don't think that's quite enough time for Pokemon Infinite Fusions. But maybe at break time. Which I guess would be... No, I guess the last hour would be deck building. So yeah, I guess pivot like it's pack 3 would be roughly at break time. Fair enough. We assume an hour for each pack. Which, you know, some days. Pivot like it's pack 3 is more of a tech issue thing. Like stuff has already clearly gone wrong. Oh, that's true. But maybe, I don't know. The few times I've been tempted to pivot in pack 3, it's because I was kind of secretly hoping to build something and I didn't get it in pack 1 or 2, but then it miraculously showed up in pack 3. So it's not like pack 1 or 2 went wrong. It's more that pack 3 is presenting me with something much better that I wanted all along. Like, you get that rare that you were really hoping for when you open pack 3, and you're like, oh crap, I'm not in these colors. But what if... When I left Sasha, she was curled up. Well, actually, no, she was washing herself down on the couch. But maybe she comes up to join us. She has clearly remembered that that is a thing that she can do. Or at least she did last week. Who knows what the state of her memory is this week? I know not the workings of the tiny kitty mind. Food is a good idea. Food is an excellent idea for anyone that needs to acquire food. mlem has been called. We have a mlem in the chat. Ah, mlem has been seconded. Mlem has been seconded. Once. Going twice. Motion past the mlem stands. Ooh. See, for me, Barris, the answer to that question, the question being oatmeal or pancake for breakfast, for me, the answer to that question is actually the weather. What is the temperature outside? What is your weather situation? If it's like cool and crisp and like less than 15 degrees, oatmeal. Absolutely oatmeal. But if it's like warmer and kind of sunny, maybe pancake. 17 and sun? Yeah, I'd say probably pancake then. For me, oatmeal is like a dreary, gloomy, chilly kind of breakfast. Because the oatmeal is warm and delightful. I mean, pancakes are also warm and delightful, but I don't know. I guess oatmeal is just much more of a comfort food for me. Pancake. Enjoy pancake. Pancakes into the sunbeams? Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's why I associate pancakes with the sun. Have an extremely valid point there, Kite. We're going to attempt to eat some food. If I don't hear from you, tell the world it was something cooler than a cute tummy hurt. Oh no. Well, I very much hope that there will not be a cute tummy hurt. Please accept my transatlantic hugs and snugs. My hugs and snugs of sympathy. Good morning, Randus. Welcome to where we are all totally awake. As usual. I am considering a pivot to Pokemon Infinite Fusions a bit later in the stream, probably around break time. But for now, we chillin' and vibin' and waking up as we usually do. Good is pushing it. It is morning. Fair distinction. Hello, morning then. Your Hexagon. I know I briefly let go of you, but that does not mean you get to run away. what I really want from FF14 G-Pose. Zoom out so far. Also free cam. Yeah. I mean, granted, I'm not great at G-Pose. But yeah, fair. You do the Pokemon fusion thing. Is there also a Poke fusion dance that goes horribly funny when the mons are off ever so much? Sort of? I mean, there is kind of a fusion dance. There's a fusion animation. I'm not sure it can go more wrong than when it goes right, though. Like, sometimes even when it goes right, it's very wrong. Or at least very cursed. Sounds like a goal, most cursed mons. I mean, so the way that I'm doing it to avoid decision paralysis about what fusions to make is I am just fusing the Pokemon in the order that I get them. So I catch a mon, I immediately fuse it to the next one that I get. Unless I manage to find a wild fusion, in which case I just catch that one. And I am doing like one catch per area to try to limit the pool of what I get so that I have to A, use Pokemon that I might not normally use, and B, strategize a little bit more. I'm not doing a full Nuzlocke, so like death is not permanent and all that. But I am limiting my catch pool to make myself be a little bit more strategic. There have been some very cute ones. For instance, our starter, because I am also playing in randomized mode. So our starter was a Phanpy, and then our first encounter on Route 1 was a Clefairy. So those two fused together. Clefairy Phanpy is really, really cute. It's so cute. I am both excited and dreading to see it evolve, but right now it's extremely cute. But then on the other end of the spectrum, we have a Love Disc Machop that is fairly cursed. We have a Bulbasaur Vigoroth that is extremely cursed. If you ever watched the old Nicktoons show Real Monsters, Vigoroth Bulbasaur looks like it escaped from Real Monsters. Yes, they can evolve while fused, and both halves will evolve independently. So, for instance, with my Phanpy Clefairy, I can use a Moonstone on it, and it'll evolve into a Phanpy Clefable. And then when I level it up, and it hits the level to evolve into Donphan, it will evolve into a Donphan Clefable. So like both halves will evolve independently and then become a new fusion with like that, whatever that half's evolved form is. Yeah, Vigoroth Bulbasaur looks like I nicknamed it Muppet because it looks like a cross between a Muppet and an escapee from Our Real Monsters. It's kind of growing on me in a horrifying way. I am terrified to see the eventual Slacking Venusaur. That is going to be a unit of a Pokemon. Yeah, it's growing on me like mold. Exactly. Yeah, so there's been some cute ones, there's been some cursed ones. We have definitely seen some cursed fusions in like trainer teams, because I have the settings set so that all enemy trainers have fused Pokemon. So there have definitely been some interesting fusions we've seen, if not made ourselves. I kind of want to at some point do an Infinite Fusions run where it's like oops all unknown, because I have like a weird soft spot for unknown, and they make some very interesting fusions. So the stats they do kind of interestingly. So you can evolve, or sorry, you can fuse Pokemon. When you fuse the two Pokemon together, one of them becomes the head and one of them becomes the body. Um, that's not always how they look, but like, so say you're gonna fuse my Clefairy and Phanpy. With the way that we ended up doing it was Phanpy is the body and Clefairy is the head. So we ended up with like a Phanpy shaped thing that was pink and had like the curl and Clefairy's eyes. You can also do it the other way, and you could make Clefairy the body and Phanpy the head. And in that case, you would end up with something that's Clefairy shaped, but probably blue with like the Phanpy trunk and the Phanpy ears kind of idea. And depending on which way you fuse them, certain stats will get carried over from the head Pokemon and certain stats will get carried over from the body. So like I think it's HP, defense, and special defense come from the body, and then attack, special attack, and speed come from the head. So you can sort of metagame it and get like a Pokemon that's really, really good defensively to be the body and a Pokemon that's a really, really good attacker to be the head, fuse them together and create like a really good Pokemon. Or you could fuse them the other way and create a really, really bad Pokemon. I tend to not metagame that much. I usually base it more on vibes and how they look, but you can if you want to metagame with the stats. The types will also depend on which way you fuse them. So, like if it's two monotypes, like my Phanpy Clefairy was Fairy Ground either way around. It didn't matter. It was going to be a Fairy Ground or a Ground Fairy. But if you're fusing dual types, the two types will correspond to whether the head will use the first type and then the body will use the second type. So if you were going to fuse two dual types together, it gets more complicated. Because say you have like a Pidgey that's normal flying and an Oddish that's grass poison. So if you're going to fuse the Pidgey as the head and the Oddish as the body, the two types kind of combine over top each other, so you would end up with the Pidgey's normal type, but the Oddish's poison type, so you would end up with a normal poison. But if you fuse them the other way, you would end up with the Oddish's grass type and the Pidgey's flying type, so you would get a grass flying. So in that instance, which way you fuse them matters for the typing as well. So it's really interesting. So Venaking is grass normal. I believe so, yes. Yes. Venaking would be grass normal, but then Slasaur would be normal poison, because Slaking is normal type no matter what, because it's only a monotype. But yeah, the Venusaur would switch whether it gives the grass type or the poison type, depending on whether it's the head or the body. So yeah, it's actually really interesting, and you can get like really deep into the weeds of like metagaming the stats and stuff. The move pools will also be combined, so you don't really have to consider the move pools while fusing, because it'll just learn all of the moves from both Pokemon, which is kind of nice. And yeah, like I said, both halves will kind of evolve independently. Abilities are also, like when you make the fusion, you can choose which of the two abilities you want to keep, and you can choose which of the two natures that you want to keep from the two component Pokemon. That makes it a little bit easier too. You can also unfuse Pokemon and like reverse the fusions if you decide you want it the other way around, or if you don't like this fusion at all and you just want to fuse something else, you can do that. I'm not doing that in my challenge, but you can if you want to play that way. You can be like, oh, this one is actually heinous, or this is just really bad. I'm gonna unfuse it and make them into something else. And you totally can. So Slacking's ability doesn't instantly make things worse. Yes, when I fused them, I specifically chose Overgrow, so I don't have to deal with Truant. Exactly. Because even though it's currently a Vigoroth, it will evolve eventually, and I'm like, nope, I'm not dealing with this. That's totally it. Yeah, this is really enough thread. Also, it's the top of the hour, so a reminder to anyone who needs to eat. Please go find a thing to eat. Take meds. Go take your meds. Aha. I win at Thread Chicken once again. That's a perfectly respectable amount of thread left. Fine. Hours have tops, does that mean they also have bottoms? Yeah. I actually have totally heard people say bottom of the hour to describe half past. It's maybe not so common anymore with like digital clocks, but back in the days where all of the clocks were round and analog, I absolutely had people, or have heard people use top of the hour and bottom of the hour to describe, you know, at the hour or half past. Although, to be fair, I have never heard anyone use, like, left of the hour or right of the hour. That doesn't work as well. But I've heard bottom of the hour. Kara, just checking because I don't remember. You closed the window at some point, yes? Because my computer is now saying it is 19 degrees out. So if we haven't closed the window, we should probably close the window. Although I think 19 is what it's set to in here as well, so maybe we're just achieving equilibrium? Who knows? Still resisting the urge to make a switch of the hour joke. I'm not sure how well that works, unfortunately, because when you say switch of the hour, you think of like changing from 1 hour to the next hour, which would be the same thing as top of the hour. But it's not the same thing at all. Ooh, okay. From the bottom of the hour to the top of the hour. It's the switch of the hour. Yeah, that works. That works. Fair enough. did in fact close windows. Excellent. I figured you probably had, but I couldn't remember. The first, surprisingly unsalty. I mean, I guess it depends on if you consider sand salt. Because, like, chemically not, but I feel like if you licked a sandy aetheryte, it would still kind of give the impression of saltiness. You do not? Okay, fair enough. In that case, yeah, surprisingly unsalty. Calusia and Yulemoor would probably be the saltiest ones on the first. Tyrol also surprisingly unsalty because, like, while there are oceans, we're often not within sight of them. Like, Tuliolal is right on the water, but pretty much nowhere else is. Everywhere else is kind of inland. Yeah, so like Tuliolal is literally a port city, so that one's pretty salty. But then everywhere else we go is pretty inland. At least as far as we can see. There's rivers and things, but not coasts. Not the same way there is in, like, Lanasha. There we go. There's another batch of Hexagons. On to the next ones. I need to cut myself some more fabric. My stack is getting a bit thin here. So far, there is no sign of Sasha. I suspect that she is still exactly where I left her, asleep, curled in a ball. Maybe eventually she will come upstairs to get kibble and remember that I exist here. But perhaps not. Hello? I was just thinking about you. Hey. Hi. What? So, Black, you're out of focus. Not knowing what to do with you. So Kara and Barris are downstairs playing Crystal Chronicles on voice chat, which is fine. It's just occasionally I hear Kara say something much louder out of context. Like I just heard her go, but what if we both just die? And I'm like, okay, sounds like they're having fun. I'm sure this is fine. Are we going to go to Eep? Hmm? Are we going to be an Eepy baby, or are you just going to sit here for a minute? Hmm? our bee, which is nice. The bees. She is extremely round. Now, granted, this is a top-down camera, but yeah, she is in fact extremely round. And again, the camera does not know what to do as far as like focus and lighting, but it's fine. Yes, who's a perfect little orb? It's you. You're a perfect little orb. She's so fluffy that sometimes when she goes into like full loaf mode, she looks like a picture of one of those Arctic hares, like loafed down, just in black instead of white. It's so funny. Yeah, there's bees. Too bad your bees aren't loud enough to be picked up on microphone, because they're very good. Sorry, I moved slightly. Just kind of vibing. Looking at. Or are you just staring off into the distance? Oh, there we go. Excellent. Close your eye. Begging you, close your eye. Achieve shrimp. Why is Sasha allowed to shrimp and the rest of us are not? Oh, we lose. Those are extremely valid note kits. Also, if you want me to provide more detail in my notes for like the actual ratings, I can. I basically use them to give a little bit of context since I know you haven't been to those areas yet. But if you want me to get a little bit more descriptive in the actual ratings, I can. Valid. Yeah, that works. That's about when I'll be writing mine and Kara's as well. Or at least putting together the slideshow for Kara's. And then she gets to vamp. Ma'am, your eye is still open. I believe I asked you to close that if you're going to be going to sleep. Scratch. Ma'am, I've heard of sleeping with one eye open. Slightly ridiculous. Did we have a sudden itch? Not what that was? Passion breakfast. Might be able to pick her up and redeposit her onto the chair. But she's this is when I want teleportation technology. So that I can just like swoop out from under her and let her settle down onto the chair. Without me having to like scoop her and then do the hokey pokey of getting out of the chair and then put her back down. Posited the chair so that I can take break and eat breakfast. But you're so sweet and I love having you on my lap. I know. It's not often you fully fall asleep on my lap. Well, I mean, I guess you're not fully asleep right now either. About it, huh? Uh-huh. Yes, complaining already. Best way to... Sasha, what's the best way to... I mean, clearly not to move at all. I know, I know. No, I'm the worst. Awful. How dare I scoop? How dare I move? There we go. See? Now you get the whole chair all to yourself. Alright, fam. I am going to take a quick break. I'm going to go get breakfast, and probably I will take stream offline very briefly when I come back, just so that I can have the VOD separated. But then we will pivot to some Pokemon Infinite Fusions. So everybody get up, stretch, move around, grab refills on your drinks, all that good stuff. Contemplate Sasha. Shall I leave Sasha on screen? Yeah, I'll leave Sasha on screen. Watch her wash her toes. And I'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go too far away. All right, I'm back. And so is Sasha. And we'll see if she actually settles or not. Um, but I am going to go briefly offline so that I can reorganize a couple things and reset my Twitch category. But don't go too far away. Refresh in just a couple minutes, and I should be back.